Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. I wanted to take a few minutes of your time to read something out on why takfiring is so incredibly dangerous, because a large section of the youth tend to engage upon it without any understanding of the consequences, and I think it is quite beneficial to see the historical ramifications of why I need to mention this. So yes, this is from Wikipedia because it is the quickest format that I can find it in English, so bear in account I am speaking from a Wikipedia point of view. Takfir, or takfiring in Arabic, denouncing excommunication from Islam of one Muslim by another in according another Muslim to be an apostate. The word is found neither in the Quran nor in the Hadiths. Kufa and kufaras is in other terms employing the same trilogical root. The word takfir was introduced in the post-Quranic period and was the first done by the Khazarites. I can't pronounce their name very well. The act which pursues takfir is terminally munafiqs. A Muslim who declares another Muslim to be an unbeliever or an apostate is a takfira. Since according to traditional interpretations of Shira, the punishment for apostate is death penalty, potentially causing of strife and violence in the Muslim community to Ummah. An ill-founded takfir accusation was a major forbidden act, haram, in Islamic law and jurisprudence, with one hadith declaring the one who wrongly declares a Muslim an unbeliever is himself an apostate. In the history of Islam, a sect originating in the 7th century Common Era, known as the Khazarites, carried out takfirs and were a source of insurrection against the early caliphates for centuries. Traditional Islamic scholars, the Ummah, have held that only those with authority to declare someone a kafir, unbeliever, that they all prescribe legal procedures should be taken before declaring a takfir, and that those who profess their Islamic faith should be exempt. Now, this is very, very important, and the reason I point this towards a historical point of view is because of the value of it. Now, in the modern 20th century, it has become customary, acceptable for this to be considered acceptable. And one of the people is an Egyptian ideologist, Sayyid Qutb, practiced that all Muslims in the world had fallen into a state of collective apostasy. This I disagree with entirely. And as revival of rhymes requires physical force. The radical Islam ideology called Takfirism has been widely held to be appeal to numerous Islamic extremist, terrorist and jihadist organisations in the 20th to 21st century to various degrees. Since the late half of the 20th century, Takfiring has been used for sanctioning violence against leaders of Islamic states who do not enforce the Shira or are otherwise deemed insufficiently religious. The application of Takfir has become a central ideology of insurrectionists, Wahhabists, Salafis, jihadist extremists and terrorist groups, including particularly Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Isha and Daesh, who have drawn from the 13th century scholars Ibn al-Tamarin and Ibrahim Karif, and those of modern Islamic ideologists Sayyid Qutb and Abdul al-Mahdi. The practice has been denounced as deviant by mainstream Muslim groups and mainstream Islamic scholars such as Hasim al-Hadib and Yusuf al-Qalab. Let me be fair, young ladies, gentlemen, my brothers and sisters, takfiring is insanely dangerous and should be avoided by anybody who is a lay follower. In fact, anybody who is even a student of knowledge and not an actually peer recognised scholar should avoid it. It is not something that should be done on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. It is something that should be approached with absolute terror and scaredness, because if you are found before judgment to have failed this, you have by an extension, created a formulation of you are now an unbeliever. You have declared someone else an unbeliever when they were actually a believer, and now you're the unbeliever. That is something terrifying. So this is why we should be very, very careful, young ladies, gentlemen, students of knowledge included, involving this very dangerous act. Alhamdulillah.